mean, let's start here, because we're going to have to torch Jose Mourinho for his team's performance as well at some point, or at least I'm going to if you won't. But Inter soaring at the moment, and I think it was such a sort of confident performance, regardless of where Roma are at, to go to the Stadio Olimpico, to an atmosphere where even when things were going badly for Roma, the crowd actually was still pretty impressive all the way through in terms of staying behind Roma, making it an atmosphere that was hot, shall we say. There was never a game. Even before Çalhanoğlu opened the scoring, and the first goal was a little bit chance. Initially, goals direct from a corner are called Olimpico, and this was an Olimpico at the Stadio Olimpico.
At the Olimpico.
Yeah, he swung the ball in towards the near post. He said afterwards, look, I always put the ball in towards the near post. He wasn't necessarily trying to score, but it went in. But the second goal Inter scored, Mina, was incredible. I mean, the Serie have posted it on their Twitter account with like a thing about a symphony, but it's 19 passes that Inter play. But the last part of it in particular, where it's just one-touch football between, I think it's Perisic and Çalhanoğlu and Bastoni and maybe Correa on the edge of the box. There's one other anyway. All sort of just knit together so beautifully. And then Çalhanoğlu rolls the ball across to Edin Dzeko, and you think, that's the stuff. That's the stuff that you want to see. That's a real team coming together. And I think the real sort of celebration of Inzaghi ball as well at this point. I think there's been a sort of degree up till now when you can say, well, what's Conte, what's Inzaghi? And of course, there's going to be a bit of that all through the season, because look, you did inherit a team that won the league, but this was Inzaghi, and not only was it Inzaghi, but at the very heart of it, two players who weren't even there when Conte was there, right? Çalhanoğlu, who I had my doubts about fitting into that team at the beginning of the season, but who has been sensational for the last month. And Edin Dzeko finishing it off. That was one of the best team goals I've seen all season. And Inter are, week to week, I feel like, again, I think I said it in the last segment, you could chart my reactions to these teams over the season. It's like they're soaring right now. What's the thing everyone says about the cryptocurrencies when they're going, well, to the moon? Inter are going to the moon right now. That's how their trajectory is looking to me.
It's funny because when it comes to Inter, like they are, when a team is good, when you trust them in every big match, and you feel safe that they will not only just be magnificent in the way that they play their football going forward, but you trust the back line even when there are absences there. I mean, obviously this is a much better squad than what Roma have. And I understand that Jose Mourinho has been saying, well, what do you expect? It's already difficult to play against this Inter side that had finished so many more points ahead of us, let alone one where we are missing so many of our starters, from Tammy Abraham, who was obviously suspended, Pellegrini, who's injured, no Karsdorp. And yet this was it was such a ridiculous game, because it was almost like, yeah, well, what do you expect? I don't have anything. And then he brings on these, two youngsters in Bove and Volpato. And it's almost like he uses it as a way of either saying, I don't have a squad, so what do you expect? Because I don't have the players that I want. And another form of sort of complaints, if you like. Or a case of, this will detract from the fact that we had played so desperately and so badly. I mean, this is a squad that isn't complete, and that has its absences. And yet I cannot understand, with everything that they've done, like you don't want to maybe try Mayoral, like you don't want to maybe, Villar is back, so perhaps put him in midfield. You don't want to literally give somebody else a go, or it's like you're so stuck on the players that you have right now, and this is what you're going with. And I just feel that there was no fight. It is so dependent on what Pellegrini can do. Shmurodov just seems like a ghost right now. And I think that Mkhitaryan, when he is up against it, he's not somebody that necessarily always makes the difference against the types of team that Inter is. But this is what I mean. You're playing in the Stadio Olimpico. You're being watched by the likes of Totti. There were so many incredible people who had come to the stadium. It was such an interesting atmosphere, obviously, because of the fact that Inzaghi was the Lazio coach, because of the fact that, Jose Mourinho was the treble-winning Inter coach. And yet you just feel like this is a project going forward, and you were never going to get the players. is this what we're going to expect if you don't have all your stars available? It was very, very disappointing from Roma.
Yeah, I mean, there was this phrase that got a lot of sort of traction afterwards from Mourinho about how his team's offensive potential was nulla, it was nothing. And I just, don't tell me you've got no attacking options when literally last season's top scorer sat the entire 90 minutes on the bench without coming onto the pitch. Don't tell me you've got no attacking options when you've got Shomurodov, your team spent 20 million euros or so in the summer. Don't tell me you've got no attacking options when you've got Mkhitaryan on the pitch, who we seen score goals before, when you've got Zaniolo, who's supposed to be one of the great coming hopes of Italian football. Don't tell me you've got nothing. You don't have to be as good as Inter right now. Nobody's expecting you to be as good as Inter. Inter are very much
far and away the best
built
team
to fight for the league title, and Roma aren't. I don't think anyone would kill you for that. But what you do get killed for, and what you should get killed for, is being this meek in a game at home against Inter. They didn't just lose 3-0, Mina. They were 3-0 down at half-time, and there was no reaction after half-time. There was nothing. This is a weaker performance than Venezia gave against them. It's a weaker performance than Spezia gave against them. These are not teams that you can look at and say, well, they had all the money, they had all the possibilities against Inter. Roma don't have to be as good as Inter right now, but they have to be better than this. I thought they were awful. I thought they were really, really dreadful. And it's really damning, I'm sorry, but it is, of Jose Mourinho that we are here in December. Because I was enthusiastic at the beginning when we got the goal at Sassuolo. We got Mourinho running down the sideline. We got those memories of Jose being Jose and it being fun. But this is a man who is taking the joint biggest salary in Serie A, who's currently got the team 8 points worse off than they were last season under Fonseca, 7 points worse off than they were in Fonseca's first season at the same point. What are you contributing? Because I don't feel like we can say now that it's no time and no money. You've been here long enough that we could at least see something. Whereas instead what I feel like is you're heading literally in the wrong direction, away from where you were at the start of the season into something that's just completely disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think you've hit the nail on the head with that. It's, we talk about maybe you don't have the talent that you dream of, right? And like you said, we're not expecting you to do or to play against Inter on equal terms, because we know where Inter are right now, and they are just a Scudetto winning team. So they are fabulous to watch. And for all my money, I think they could beat Real Madrid and win the group of the Champions League at the moment. But to be honest with you, it's also the stats. 20 tackles Inter put in to 9 from Roma. I mean, dispossessed 12 times Roma. How many times were Inter dispossessed? 4. The whole point of Mourinho, if we are not expecting offensive patterns of play, that beautiful football, that one-touch passing that, is associated to your Pep Guardiola's, your Sarri's, your Inzaghi's now, then you're supposed to provide the mentality, right? The grit, the determination, the warrior-like, the harmony, the everything that everyone said about it. It wasn't obvious there. It wasn't evident at all. And yes, there are absences, but you're like you said, there is Zaniolo on the pitch that Paulo Fonseca didn't have. There is Shomurodov that he didn't have. You're still playing with Mkhitaryan, Veretout, who is a very capable midfielder, one of the very best, honestly, in Serie A. You still have Cristante available, Mancini, Smalling, Kumbulla. Like, how can this team be so defensively poor, lacking in mentality, without an offensive pattern of play that you can really think about? And frankly speaking, like, when you look at the way they are, this is in addition to what they did against Bologna, which was hideous to watch. For me, what annoyed me so much watching them against Torino is that Torino just gave them the ability to counterattack. They played such good football, but because they didn't leave Roma with having to figure it out offensively, they lost that match. But frankly speaking, I'm not in, like you're saying, they are 8 points off, 9 if you consider the fact that, they were punished last season and deducted points last season, Roma. Fonseca's team was much better, and I'm sorry it didn't have the money that was spent in there. So I don't, like you said, I don't see the value add that Jose Mourinho is bringing into this team. But I don't know whether to be like, wow, Inter are so amazing, or just really disappointed in what Jose Mourinho is doing from a mentality point of view and from an actual tactical point of view.